What's up, guys? Whoever's here. I think I saw like three of you. It's three more than I thought. But anyway, of course, my name is Jose Youngs here. You may know me from such shows as I mute all of my phones and everything. You may know me from MMA Fighting's various preview shows, post shows, former host of the A side. I'm sure you've seen me at a press conference or two, maybe a media day. This is episode 5 of Let's Talk Comic Books with Jose Youngs, but for this one, I'm going to focus mostly on the Sandman sense. I've said it many a time. I've described it as the English lit major's favorite comic book, of course, by the wonderful Neil Gaiman. The Netflix show comes out tomorrow, the live action show. It's a show that a lot of people have been asking about for at least 30 years now, ever since the first issue came out, I think in 1989, under the DC banner. It was our first introduction to Morpheus, or Dream of the Endless, as most people know. But you can see all of them behind me, these 6 leather-bound books. Plus, I don't know if you can see it, I also have Lucifer and Books of Magic, all of which take place in Gaiman's Sandman universe. But whoever's in the chat, if there's no one in the chat, I'm talking to myself, but that's okay. People have said that they enjoy coming back and watching these after they're live. If anyone wants to hang out, talk about the Sandman, I'm just going to be talking. Of course, Sandman debuted in 1989 under the DC Comics banner for 4 years before transitioning over to Vertigo, where they remained until 2020, which is, and since then it has become a part of DC's Black Label, which is, more of the supernatural stuff. I think that's where Batman Damned is, of course, Wonder Woman Dead Earth, The Question, all that good stuff. My friend Miguel is a very big fan of it. Obviously, there's the Sandman ran, the original series for the Sandman ran from 89. Oh, at least so I think it ran, I don't remember, 96, I want to say, 75 issues. So there's, and I've said this for years, the original 75 issue run by Neil Gaiman is the best stretch of comic books that I have ever read. There's literally no bad comic book. Obviously there's some great other ones, like as everyone knows, I'm a big fan of the Ultimate Spider-Man universe. I'm a big fan of Akira, Judge Dredd, Usagi Yojimbo, Irredeemable, Scalped, Love and Rockets, Preacher, Hellblazer, of course, John Constantine, who makes an appearance here and there in the Sandman world. So, as you all know, for those of whoever said when I move my head it fades out, I can't figure out why. Okay, I've tried a few times, but this microphone, I need to be directly on it, so I apologize if I fade out. I'll try not to turn around too much. But yes, Neil Gaiman's written many of these. Books of Magic, of course, and Lucifer take place in his universe. House of Whispers, which is somewhere around here. There's currently a Lock and Key Sandman crossover, but the original 75 issue run of the Sandman, I think, is the best run of comic books ever in terms of just high quality writing. Neil Gaiman, of course, has written some of the more popular books and comic books the last X amount of years. If you don't particularly care about reading the comic books, there is a fantastic audiobook on Audible. I think it's the first. There's two, and they're both like 5 hours long. I don't remember what issue it ends on, but those are spectacular too. Fully casted. Neil Gaiman does the voice. Kat Denning does Death. I can't remember who does. Scottish actor, not Ewan McGregor. Other guy. I'm gonna look up. Morpheus, Audible, Sandman. James McAvoy. That's it. He does the voice of McAvoy. McAvoy does the voice of Morpheus. Kat Deng does the voice of Death. Jeffrey Wright does Destiny. And then there's a whole lot of other ones. But the show comes out tomorrow. I believe it's the first. If you read the graphic novels, not the giant thick, these giant library editions, but if you read like the 10 breakouts, I believe it's the first 2. So it's Morpheus being captured, it's Morpheus freeing himself, and then it's him, of course, trying to regain his helm, his pouch of sand, his dream stone. So we're obviously going to meet Lucifer. We're going to go to hell. We're going to do the 24-hour diners with Dr. Destiny. We'll, of course, do the sounds of her wings with Death. And then I have a feeling we're going to, I've avoided all trailers. I've avoided almost all trailers, anything that shows me the voices or how they act. I've obviously seen posters and stills of scenes, but I've not seen any of the acting or anything like that. I wanted to go in blind because I don't want to ruin for me. I want to go in because I've been waiting. I've been asking for the show since first time I read The Sandman. I was 6, and since then I was like, oh, this would be an epic TV show. Now I didn't want a movie. I wanted a TV show because, of course, it's episodic. So I've been waiting for this for pretty much my whole life. So I think we're obviously going to have a lot of the side stories like Death is a Mug's Game. I'm sure we'll have that. I think that's one of the more popular side stories. Of course, Sandman, it's broken up in story arcs with a lot of characters. Kind of all the characters show up throughout the Sandman world, because there are even issues and storylines where Dream or Morpheus or whatever you want to call him, the main character, the Sandman, he's not even in it, like the Serial Convention one, which I don't want to give away the plot or anything unless you guys already have read it. Morpheus is in it for like, I don't know, 2-3 pages, maybe has one or two lines. That's the beauty of the Sandman. You don't need all the characters in every single issue. A lot of the characters will pop up for 1 page at the end. Some of the characters don't even look like they look from one issue to the other. Like, of course, in Morpheus's case, or actually any of the Endless's case, whoever looks at them is what they perceive Dream to look like is how he will look. So there's a very famous scene where, because of course when it was first launched, it was in the DC universe. He's up in the Justice Society or JLA. I can't remember if it was Justice Society or Justice League. He's at the Watchtower, and he meets Martian Manhunter. And Martian Manhunter, humanity sees Dream as this white figure with white skin, black eyes, white pupil, and long black hair. Of course, I'm sure if you've seen the posters, you've seen Dream or Morpheus, whoever you want to call him. We're just going to call him Dream. Martian Manhunter, of course, is a Martian from Mars. He views him as Lord Lazar, which is like a floating, flaming head. So he bows to him because he's viewed as a deity, where in humanity, that's not quite how Dream is perceived. So there's, of course, a really famous issue, one of the first 10 issues, where it does a flashback, I think 15,000, 25,000 years ago, to like a, not Neanderthal, but like an ancient civilization where Dream it's in Africa, and Dream is an African warrior or African prince, so he's a black man. And his name is Kai Kul. Of course, his fiance Naja, or love of his life Naja, is captured by Lucifer, which obviously comes to play later on in the present when they're playing out the current arc. So I've seen a picture of that. Of course, I don't know who plays either character, but we're gonna get at least some variations of Dream. I've seen the image of By the Sound of Her Wings, of course, with Dream and Death sitting on the park bench with the bread, feeding the pigeons. That, of course, is going to be an incredibly sad episode. I think that's one of the more popular, or more, when I say they're all popular, but one of the more critically acclaimed issues. My personal favorite is I like 24 Hours, of course. And when I do, 24 Hours is the name of the issue, where the entire story takes place in a span of 24 hours. Inside a single diner, while Dr. Destiny runs amok with the Dreamstone, where he can make people see and do things at his will. And then, of course, I'm a big fan of Midsummer Night's Dream, which I think is the 25th issue. We're not going to get that this season. Of course, that's 25 issues in. That is William Shakespeare is a character in the Dream world, in the Sandman world, and obviously centuries ago, Dream meets Shakespeare and kind of gives him these ideas to make these plays. So that one I'm obviously very much looking forward to. That's one of my more favorite issues. The Serial Convention one is very popular. I'm a big fan of when Lucifer quits hell and gives the key to hell to Dream, and Dream has to figure out what to do with the key. Does he give it to Odin and Hercules and Loki? Does he give it to Anubis? Does he give it to the fairies? There's a lot of ancient deities that show up in the dreaming. The dreaming, of course, is the lands that Dream rules when we go to sleep in this world. When humanity goes to sleep in this world, we enter the dreaming. That is his domain. It's his siblings, of course, are the endless, which is death. You obviously know what death does. There's desire, despair, destruction, destiny. They're all brothers and sisters, and they all obviously desire can make you desire things. Destruction is the embodiment of destruction. Destiny is the one that walks around with the book of destiny that can see all things to come and all things that have happened. Dream is, of course, in charge of the dreaming, so on and so forth. You get the idea. It's all fantastic. They've all obviously casted all of them. Gwendolyn Christie plays Lucifer, which a lot of people are upset about, which is very silly because obviously in the comic books, Lucifer's aesthetics were kind of based off, especially in the earlier issues, were based off of David Bowie. David Bowie is, of course, dead, but Lucifer's supposed to be an androgynous individual with no genitals, no gender, no nothing. He is just Lucifer Morningstar. Of course, the show Lucifer has nothing to do with the Sandman Lucifer, but it's the same character, same as this of the book Lucifer behind me. Books of Magic is of course Timothy Hunter, I think, which is, I've been saying this for years, was I think a hardcore what's the word I'm looking for? Inspiration for Harry Potter, because Timothy, of course, has glasses, black hair, pet owl, gets whisked away from a human world to fight evil magic in the magical world and become this all-powerful wizard. Sounds like Harry Potter. Books of Magic did it first. Neil Gaiman doesn't really seem to care, so I'm not going to care. But if you're going to argue that it wasn't an inspiration, that's very silly. Let's see. Apparently, Brazilian YouTubes were streaming the first. I had the opportunity to see the first episode. I didn't take it. I wanted to see it on Netflix. I didn't want to see it ahead of time. I could have gotten a screener. I didn't. I wanted to see it. I wanted to see it live because I would have seen it yesterday. Like, what's an extra day? Sorry about that. Steven Dever, I've been rereading Sandman again before the release of the show. I'm so hyped. I can't. I'm with you, Steven. I'm with you. I think I've reread Sandman at least 4 or 5 times. I've listened to the audiobook. I'm very, very excited. I even have Death tattooed on my arm. It's one of my earlier tattoos I got. It's well done by Leo Galaz at Dame of the West Tattoo in Scottsdale. This, of course, is the scene that says, you lived what anybody gets. You got a lifetime. When, of course, someone dies, he goes, I lived a good life, didn't I? And this and that. And Death's like, you lived what everyone gets. You got a whole lifetime. Death, of course, is, I guess, rudimentary way to describe her would be the Grim Reaper, where she just shows up and kind of takes you away into, you die. There is a really good short. I don't remember what it is on. It's animated. It's part of the DC animated universe. It was an animated short at the end of one of DC's animated movies. I can't remember which one it is, but you can find it on YouTube, and it's an animated thing of this guy going through life. His life is bad. I believe he's a painter or something, and he's smoking in his room, and then Death shows up. Eventually, he realizes who she is, and he turns around, and he is looking at his own body. So that's what Death does. She just calmly takes you into the afterworld. I think she's probably, outside of Dream or Morpheus, I would hazard a guess to say Death is the more popular character, both aesthetically, written wise. She's kind of like this emo girl with like rocker hair, leather boots, like ripped jeans, tank top. But of course, she changes her appearance as the story needs to go. As the stories go, she can appear as however she wants. But that seems to be her basic appearance. She's very popular, but that's who I have tattooed on my arm. Anyway, hello to all 7 of you. Oh, I crack my back. Anyway, Sandman, of course. I don't know how loyal it will be. 24-Hour Diners is incredibly violent. I think as I was reading it as a child, the first 6 or so issues, 4 or 5 issues, are Morpheus, of course, trying to reclaim everything lost with him. He gets help from Constantine. He gets help from Martian Manhunter, tells him where the Dreamstone is. And it feels more like a superhero comic book where Morpheus is this all-powerful creature or individual that is trying to reclaim his weapons that he needs to reclaim his, because long story short, he is held captive for like hundreds of years, or 100 years or so. So he is away from his kingdom of the dreaming, and when he escapes, he is weak and he needs his tools to reclaim his power so he can go back to the dreaming and fix everything. Dr. Destiny is, of course, an actual supervillain from the DC comic books. He has the Dream Stone, so he can make people see things and dream things and so on and so forth. In the diner where this issue takes place, it's going to be one of the more violent or one of the more talked about ones. He basically is manipulating the minds of like the city, but more specifically, I think like 10 or 12 patrons of this diner, and they think it's only been an hour, but it's been like several hours. And he's making them see things, and every hour he changes what is happening. Like one time he makes them think they're animals, one time he makes them think they're like Neanderthal caveman, another time he makes them think that he's a king, and so on and so forth. And obviously it is very violent because he can make them do what he wants. Morpheus shows up, and then they go into the dreaming for battle. It's going to be a violent and gory, and of all the issues, especially in the earlier issues, that one is more like a horror story than any of them. Even the ones when Morpheus goes to hell and he tries to reclaim his helm or his helmet that you've seen in a lot of the promotional material for the Sandman. One of the Lucifer's smaller demons has the helmet, and he plays this game at the Hellfire Club, not the Hellfire Club from the X-Men, and not the Hellfire Club from Stranger Things, the Hellfire Club from the DC comic books, which is literally just a nightclub in hell with like body parts and like jars, and they're drinking blood and eating souls and like worms and everything like that. And they basically play this spoken word game. It's basically just like it's like spoken word poetry, and it's a contest. And Lucifer, and of course, Lucifer wants Dream to lose. Dream wins. He gets his helmet. Lucifer swears revenge. That, of course, comes later on. But yeah, that is another fantastic issue. I know that one will take place in the television show, but I digress. If anyone is actually watching, tell me what your favorite story arc is. I should say. A lot of people like Preludes and Nocturnes, which is the first 7 or 8 issues. That seems to be the more popular one. Season of the Mist is the one I was telling you about, where Lucifer, it's a bug in the room, fly, where Lucifer gives up hell and gets the key to Morpheus. He has to figure out what to do. Game of You is the one where Barbie, who's named after Barbie and Ken, Barbie divorces Ken and kind of gets whisked into the magical realm, or dream world, I should say. That one is very popular. Yeah, there's a lot of them. Dream Country is the one where we're introduced to William Shakespeare. Calliope is like a muse and an author. What is it called? She is a muse that a present day author is basically being held hostage or being held captive in his bedroom, and in return he basically just becomes a #1 bestseller like author. And Dream eventually frees her after he finds out, because that was one of Dream's former lovers. I'm interested in the adaptation of the Constantine part. Jenna is a good actress, but it will be very different. Well, it's Joanna Constantine, so it's going to be a female for the comic books anyway. I think she'll be fine. John Constantine is in the present day one. He's the one that helps Dream get his pouch of sand. I'm sure they're going to change it for the show, because of the Constantine. There's been like how many Constantine shows have there been? 2, 3 plus a movie. So I have a feeling that they'll just retcon it for the TV show and just make it all Joanna Constantine. I don't know if that's the case, but I haven't really seen any promotional material for John Constantine. I think Terrence Egerton plays the voice of him in the Audible. He was very good. But yeah, I don't know. It's such a small part of the series too, especially in the earlier arcs. But yeah, I'm right with you. I'm curious what they all sound like. As a poet, I'm excited. You say I can expect a poetry slam in hell. 100%. It's not quite a poetry slam with like rhyming and everything. It's more like it's it's a game of wits, I should say, but it is similar to a poetry slam where they're up on stage with two microphones and they basically just have to best one another. But poetry slam in hell does sound pretty metal, so I don't want to burst your bubble, but it's going to be pretty fantastic. It's going to be pretty fantastic. And the winner gets to leave hell. She's playing both. That's interesting. So she would play both Constantine from the past and Constantine's descendant. I mean, it makes sense, I guess, to have her play both. That's not the end of the world. Yeah, that's fine. I don't really care. Since the adaptations are all over the place, I'm cautiously optimistic, but really want it to be amazing, especially with Netflix. The Sweet Tooth adaptation is not what I thought it'd be at all. I agree. I have a lot of friends that like the Sweet Tooth TV show. I did not. The only thing I'll say about this is, while other creators like Jeff Lemire, specifically for Sweet Tooth, have been involved or have at least given blessings or helped write or whatever like that, Neil Gaiman has been very protective of the Sandman. Obviously, it came out in 1989, and he's done a lot of Sandman material. He has been very, very protective with his IP. He does not want to just give it away to anybody. I've seen interviews where people from like 30 years ago, 25 years ago, where people are trying to adapt his masterpiece, and he has turned them down or been wary. He's heard them out, and inevitably it just hasn't come to fruition. He's also been on set for a lot of the filming. He's helped write the script, of course. He's been very hands-on. He's doing the what do you call it? The media tour. Like when all the actors and directors are being interviewed, Neil Gaiman is also doing that. He walked the red carpet. He posed with the cast. He seems very hands-on, more than any other author that I've ever seen from a comic book adaptation. Also, some of the early reviews I've read of this current Sandman Netflix show, it is unbelievably faithful as it can be. Some stuff obviously they can't do, like the Constantine change. I understand. That makes sense. A lot of people are complaining about the whitewashings or the anti-whitewashings, whatever you want to call it. Like Death, of course, is not human, so it shouldn't even matter what she looks like. But in the Netflix show, she's of course a black woman. In the TV show, she is literally a pale white woman. Like her skin is white, like eggshell white. Who cares? It really doesn't matter to me. I think that is a non-issue. People were very upset that Gwendolyn Christie was playing Lucifer. They thought Lucifer should have been a man. Neil Gaiman himself has been clapping back on trolls on Twitter, saying like, Lucifer is genderless, right? It is a gender fluid individual who swings both ways. Shouldn't be an issue. And Gwendolyn Christie is a fantastic actress, so she's going to be fantastic. Plus, David Bowie's dead. Can't always get what you want. He can't play Lucifer, but I'm excited. I am very, very excited. I don't watch much TV as it is. I probably watch 2 or 3 shows a year, and not at once. Like, I'll watch this show, and then it'll be several months before I pick a new show. I'm very excited. I'm probably going to binge the entire show when it comes out. I've been waiting for this day for quite a long time. I'm very, very excited. I'm glad it's 10 or so episodes so we can get a good taste, and then hopefully it comes back. Outside of the Sandman, I'm also obviously as some of you may know, as I have it tattooed on my arm. I'm a very big Cowboy Bebop fan, and that show, we don't talk about that live action adaptation. That's not the actors' faults. That was, I think, it was a combination of they bit off more they can chew. They weren't faithful. They didn't realize what made the original source material so fantastic. And, of course, the pandemic kind of hurt them. But Neil Gaiman is here. He's on set. I'm very excited. The director said it's already gender swapping to even make the character human. That's facts. None of these people are even... None of the characters are human. The Endless are entities that are millennia old, like since the dawn of time. They... Like, Morpheus changes... Sometimes Morpheus isn't even bipedal. There's literally a whole issue where he's a cat. Like, what they look like in the show should not matter. The comic book, it didn't matter. The show, it shouldn't matter. This is just people that are these are people that are complaining for no reason, that haven't read the source material. They don't have a gender. They don't have a gender. They don't have a race. They don't have anything. Like, they represent death, dream, destruction, destiny, demons, Lucifer, God. Like, settle down, people. Like, relax. We don't talk about the live action. We talk about facts. Facts. I've never been more disappointed in a Netflix show in my entire life. And I really, really hope the Sandman isn't like that. But anyway. Oh, my back pops. I'm very excited for Death is a Mugs game. Neil Gaiman tweeted that after they filmed that scene, he was like tearing up. That is one of my colleague Jed Michoud. I think that's one of his more favorite arcs too. That is a singular issue where we meet an individual at an inn. I want to say in the 1500s, like obviously pre-America, I want to say. And he's boasting about how everyone just chooses to die. I'm just not going to die. Forget it. I'm just not going to die. Death and Dream happen to be in that bar, that pub, and they're just like laughing. So then Dream, they're just like, okay, let's play along. So Dream goes up to him and goes, oh, you say you're not going to die? And he goes, no, it's a Mugs game. So Dream makes a deal that in 100 years, they will meet in this exact spot. Of course, 100 years later, they meet in that exact spot. The world has changed. Both men have changed. Both men, as the story progresses, every 100 years, so it starts in like the 1400s or 1500s, whatever, and then it ends in the 1980s or 1990s. So every 100 years, we catch up with this character, and he goes, "Oh, I went to the colonies," and of course, he was talking about America. He's talking about slave trade. He's talking about like drug trade, this and that. Sometimes he's been a knight. Sometimes he's fallen off into despair, but needless to say, he's still alive, and it is such a good issue. It really puts into perspective. I think in terms of writing, that is one of the best single stories in the entire series. Of course, I've said I'm a big fan of Midsummer's Night's Dream, but Death is a Mugs game was, of course, one of the standout ones from the entire arc. And Neil Gaiman said that episode is going to be one of the real ones that stands out from the series. I ordered Born Again immediately after listening to her latest appearance on Robbie's pod. Yeah, shout out to the boys in the basement on my mom's basement, Robbie and Clem. That was a lot of fun breaking down the Marvel, the two phases of the MCU that are coming out. I've said it a million times. Born Again is the best Marvel arc of all time. That is Frank Miller at its peak. So I hope you enjoy. I hope you enjoy, and I hope it's everything that I build it as, because I really don't want to get your hopes up. I really hope that anyone that goes, oh, Jose thinks the Sandman is the best comic book of all time, and then goes and buys the Sandman, actually enjoys it, or at least gives it a shot. It is daunting. Like, look how thick these books are. Look how big these are. This is one volume. This is the library edition of the Sandman. Of course, if you... Volume 3, Sandman Omnibus. Of course, this is not what you can buy the singular, like the ones you see behind me, like this size. You can buy the Sandman in books this size. Like, you could really read this in 2 hours. There's 10 or 12 of them. But I like these big giant behemoths because they look very pretty on my bookshelf. But they are an absolute pain in the ass to travel with. I'll tell you that much. I've been on... when I used to take the bus to work, I was reading the Sandman, and that was a mistake. You're basically just carrying a 15-pound book. It's heavier than my laptop, and you just look like an idiot carrying around this. Looks like you're holding a spell book. So, anyway, this is also like, don't blow the bank on these. Just go buy any of them. And go buy Lucifer, go buy Books of Magic, go buy the new runs, go buy Lock and Key, go buy all of Neil Gaiman's stuff. All of them. Has he ever written a bad one? How to Talk to Girls at Parties is okay. It's just too short. Anyway. Hello to all 5 of you. That's 5 more than I thought that would turn into this. There is other Sandman IPs. Of course, these books right here is the new run of Born Again, Hellblazer, Books of Magic, House of Whispers, The Dreaming, the new run of Lucifer, the Dreaming is a lot about. I really really don't want to give it away. But at the end of the Sandman arc, Morpheus or Dream is not Lord of Dreams. And it is so far away in the show, if the show lasts that long, that I really don't want to give it away. I really want you to experience it. I might have already said too much. But these are about characters because obviously Marv Pumpkinhead, Matthew the Raven, Lucian, which is his like librarian or bookkeeper, butler, however you want to describe him. These are all like, Cain and Abel, and their gargoyle. These are all characters from the Dreaming, like Dreams minions, I should say. They're all very fantastic. I believe Mark Hamill does the voice of Marv Pumpkinhead. Marv Pumpkinhead, of course, has a pumpkin head. He looks like Jack Skellington, pre-Jack Skellington. So in the beginning of Nightmare Before Christmas, when they have the giant scarecrow with the jack-o'-lantern on it and it's all skinny, that's what Marv Pumpkinhead looks like. I think Matthew the Raven is played by Patton Oswalt. I think. I don't know off the top of my head, but he should be fantastic too. He's obviously a very big diehard comic book fan. He will do it justice. Did you see Good Omens? Nope, did not, but I've heard good things about it, and I hope everyone enjoys it. I really like the two actors that play that are the two leads. But no, I don't really watch a lot of television. Didn't see American Gods. I've read American Gods, obviously. That's a Neil Gaiman thing, but nope. Whenever I hear somebody talk about something with a passion, he talks about Born Again, it excites me. I brought the Lemire run for Moon Knight. Gonna have to do Sandman. Well, I think Sandman is better than both. That's saying a lot. I've obviously talked up Born Again quite a bit. That should tell you how fond I am of the Sandman. I've literally tattooed one of the characters on my body. If there is anything that is to do with the Sandman, I have ingested it. I have taken it in. It is the best comic book It's the best comic book series I've ever read. It's not the best comic book I've ever read. The best comic book I've ever read is still Berlin by Jason Lutz. Of course, Duncan the Wonder Dog right behind me is very good. Habibi, Blankets, Sculptor. These are all fantastic. I would put Sandman right up there with it. Even Swamp Thing by Alan Moore. Swamp Thing kind of makes an appearance in a lot of in the Justice League Dark stories. Yeah, all of those are good. Hellboy, Stray Bullets. But Sandman is right there. In terms of the 75 issues, there's not been a better 75 issue run ever. Maybe Ultimate Spider-Man. And Sagi Yojimbo is very good, and of course Hellboy. But like for a comic book like Judge Dredd, which is similar in the sense that there is like an overarching story. It's a good world building. A lot of the characters will pop up throughout the story, but it's pretty much all short stories or like contained arcs, similar to Hellboy. That is what Sandman is. So you can pick up volume 2 of Sandman and read it, and you don't necessarily have to read the entire. If you start at like, I don't know, issue 14, you don't necessarily have to read the first 13 issues. It will help a lot, but you don't necessarily have to. Jeff Lemire's Moon Knight run is rad. That is an understatement. Of course, if you've seen this, I didn't plan on talking about other comic books in this chat, but if you want to, let's do it. I actually did watch the Moon Knight TV show because I did the recaps with Robbie and Clem over at My Mom's Basement on the Barstool Sports Podcast Network. Go give them a shout out. Tell them I said hello the next time they're doing anything live or whatever. So they based a lot of the show on Jeff Lemire's Moon Knight run. So yeah, Jeff Lemire's Moonlight run is super rad. And I'm glad that that's the story they used because I think that's much easier to digest for viewers. As I get a bunch of text messages. But yeah, everyone go read Sandman. And then read the first 25 issues and tell me what your favorite arc is. Or go listen to the Audible, which I think is just as good as reading it. I think it gives you the characters' voices in your head. Yeah. And then tell me what your favorite arcs are. I can't hype up the Sandman enough. I really can't. I'm going to sound like a broken record. Um, yeah, Seasons of the Mist is probably the most recent one. Like I go back and forth all the time. Like Preludes and Nocturnes, of course, the classic. That's the one where you like John Constantine's in it, Mr. Miracle, Martian Manhunter, Scarecrow, like Jonathan Crane, like Arkham Asylum, Etrigan, who I'm gonna get tattooed on my body eventually. Like, and even the original Sandman, who is what's his name? Oh man, I can't remember his character's name. From like 1939, you know, the one with the gas mask and the gun that like shoots out sleeping gas. Hmm. I can't remember off the top of my head, but he's in it. Like all these DC characters are in it. I'm pretty sure like Batman, Green Lantern even making like a small appearance. Then of course it goes into Doll's House, which I think starts at issue 9 or 10, where he basically just tracks down Rogue Dreams because he creates dreams. Um, and there's like I can't remember the name, but they're like two little fat dreams. They kind of like if you've seen Hercules, the animated show, you know, like the two Lucifer's two minions. They kind of remind me of that. But they take Hector Hall, who is like the Bronze Age Sandman, who thinks he's still a superhero, but he's not. It's those two manipulating his dreams. The Hector Hall actually died years ago. Hobgoblin, that's his name. That's the immortal man that Dream always meets up every 100 years at the bar. So Hobgoblin is, of course, going to be in the show. Dream Country, which I briefly talked about. That's where we meet Calliope. That's where we meet William Shakespeare. There's this arc with Element Girl, who is like Element Man or Elementa, whatever his name is. Like he can make his body like other elements. So he can like make his arm hard and then turn into gas, turn into liquid. That type of stuff. There's Element Girl. And in this singular arc, she's depressed because she can't go out because she looks like white skin, purple arm, green arm, orange leg. Like she doesn't look human, nothing. And she's depressed. She has no friends. She's basically just living off of what do you call it? Pension, like a superhero pension from the government. And the only interaction she has with people is someone calling to ask if the check was delivered. And then she goes to meet a friend, and she tries to put this mask on, and it falls off, and she runs away, and she can't die. Like she literally can't die, and she's depressed, and all she wants to do is kill herself. And then death shows up and like talks to her, and then I want to give it away, but that is an incredibly depressing arc too. But it's also, uh, it is eye opening. She's a shape shifting immortal who just wants to die. And then of course Season of the Mist, where we meet I believe it's Nada Kai Cool, which is like kind of gives you the backstory of the Sandman, like lore, like who he was before the current run and this and that. Game of You, which is Barbie going into the dream world and meeting all of her. Like if you've had a dream from like 30, 20 years ago and you had all these characters in your head, those characters exist in the dreaming. Now imagine you go into the dreaming and you meet all of your imaginary friends in real life. That is how a Game of You plays out in the comic books. There's this character, Martin Tenbone, who is this big, furry, bear dog thing. And I've seen a poster of him, and I know he has a voice. So I know they're going to at least touch upon it. Fables and Reflections kind of goes into like more of the Sandman mythos, like a lot of like ancient Roman type stuff. Yeah, it's weird. That one I don't know if they'll do, because like Orpheus is an actual Greek character. I think it's Greek, or I don't remember. An ancient myth, like that is a real. It would be like Hades. So I don't know if they can do that one. Of course, it goes into the Brief Lies, which is you get in a lot of Dream siblings, like with especially Delirium, and their missing brother who is Destruction. So it'll be fun. It'll be a lot of fun, especially if you like world building and ancient lore. I know nothing about the Sandman in the universe, but what would I read first to get into Sandman book one? Yeah, start at book one, because that gives you like Preludes and Nocturnes. The graphic novel is like 150 pages. And I think that's the first 5 issues of the Sandman, and I think that really does set the scene of the important characters. So Dream, Death, Lucifer, all the integral characters that you will need to know later on. Of course, you can just jump in wherever you want, but that really does set the scene, both tone-wise, writing, character development, what each character's powers are. It's basically the first 5 or 6 issues is just world building. Dream is explaining what he does, his powers, what the dreaming is, so on and so forth. So pick up book 1 and just start reading, and I promise you, you won't want to put it down. Season of the Mist is my favorite arc. It's so good. It's so good. Like with the especially with like Naja and Kai Cool and the ancient like you're like the it feels like Atlantis, where it's not underwater, it's actually in the desert, oddly enough. But it's like an ancient society that is advanced, if that makes sense. And of course, Naja's his former lover, who he sends to hell for eternity because Dreams is spurned. She spurns his love, so he sends her to hell. Of course, he has to go back and get her like 50,000 years later. It's so good. It's so good. Hawkman makes an appearance, I'm pretty sure. I think that's like 7 or 8 issues. Yeah, but Seasons of the Mist is wicked. It's wicked. You also you get to know a lot about Dream and Delirium and Desire and all that kind of stuff. And then the scene of Lucifer in hell, and hell is empty. Like Morpheus shows up in hell ready for battle, and he's like, "Where is everyone?" Like all the demons are gone, all of the torture and everything is gone. Where is everyone? And then Lucifer's like, "I quit. I'm out." And then he just literally gives Dream the key to hell. And he's like, "Deuces." Rips his wings off, goes to live among mortal men. And of course, that's the Lucifer comic book. So that's also very fantastic. But the ending is so good. It's pretty effed up, too. It's pretty effed up. Have you read Tony Chu? I don't even know who that is. I'm going to look it up. Tony Chu. Tony Chu. Is that Anthony Chu? Oh, did Anthony Chu... Wait. Oh, you're talking about the comic book Chu. Like in the character Tony Chu from the comic book Chu. Yes, I've read Chu. It's fine. It's not my favorite. My girlfriend read it. She thought it was fine. It's not... I'm not going to go back to it. It's not a comic book that I'm going to run back to. I read it, and that's that. Miss ending always makes me laugh. Yeah, I mean, that whole arc is pretty effed up, but yeah, you're not wrong. I got a free credit on Audible. Bow to get Sandman. Get both, man. Or lady. I don't know who you are. Yeah. I have to drive to Las Vegas quite a bit for work, obviously, or take long flights because of the UFC. And when I have long drives that I just need to focus on, I usually listen to the Sandman on repeat. And I hope you do too. And I hope you watch the show and read the Audible and read the book. Yeah, sorry, Tony Chu is the name of the comic book here in France. Oh, that's interesting. I actually didn't know that. So learn something every day. Yeah, Chu's fine. I don't hate it. I don't like it. I don't hate it. I don't like starting comic books and not finishing them, even if they're not my thing. It's not bad. It is not a bad comic book whatsoever. It won a lot of awards. I think it probably won a couple of Eisner Awards or a couple of Kirby Awards. So it's obviously a well-received, critically acclaimed, popular comic book. It has a lot of volumes. But so did The Boys. And as I'm sure some of the people that have tuned into this or watched Robbie's podcast, I don't like The Boys. Doesn't mean it's not popular. It doesn't mean it should be canceled. Doesn't mean you shouldn't like it. I just didn't take anything from it. I actively disliked The Boys. I read it, and that was that. I probably won't go back to it. If they make a TV show, that would be weird. That'd be real weird if they made a TV show. Maybe if they made a TV show, I'd go back to it because it's such a unique story. But I don't want to give stuff away. Yeah, but anyway, go get the Audible. Go read the books. The Audible's fun. because it's in the comic books, scenes only play out on singular pages with a lot of text, a lot of bubbles. So if you see this, like the jazz club scene I was talking about with the poetry slam in Hell, that's like 2 pages, but there's a lot of dialogue in those 2 pages. In the Audible, it's much more fleshed out because it's, since you're only listening to it, Neil Gaiman, the narrator, like sets the scene, like both aesthetically, visually, and everything. So you can get a lot from the Audible that you can't get from the comic book in terms of substance and like hearing everything play out, and it just feels longer. But seeing how the characters look and seeing how they act and appear on a page, I think it's fantastic. It's fantastic. Like, I'd be curious if you to anyone that's never seen any of the characters from Sandman, reads the Audible, and then I would love to give them a pen and say, draw what you think Dream looks like, draw what you think Lucifer looks like, and so on and so forth, and see how close they are. I think that would be a fun project. Anyway, but the Sandman, in terms of like the actual history of the publication, ended. It was 75 issues, so I want to say like 96, 97. But then it was essentially relaunched in the Sandman. Not relaunched, it was like a gap, and then it picked back up, I should say. So a lot of the characters are older, and you'll find out more of what they've been up to over the years. So it's not like you can pick up the new. So for anyone watching this and they're like, oh, what should I pick up? Pick up the Neil Gaiman Sandmans and then go into the DC Black Label ones right here. Pick up these guys first and then go. You would be, when I said you can pick up pretty much any Sandman and just dive into it and not be confused, you would probably be very confused if you just dove into the Black Label ones. Because while you can read it without any backstory, you would be losing so much. So read the Gaiman ones and then go into the DC label. Neil Gaiman didn't write the new runs, but he was the editor, and it was his world, so he had a lot of say in what happened. But he's a busy man, didn't have time to write more comic books. Can't wait for the new Miracle Man comic books. Well, yeah. Miracle Man, where is it behind me? If anyone's watched this show before, you know that I just moved, so I don't really know where all my comic books are. Here we are. Mr. Miracle by Tom King and Mitch Gerads, I will say, is the best DC comic book of the last 10 years. It's perfect. I actually do need to get a tattoo from this. When this came out, this broke the comic book industry. This absolutely broke the industry in terms of what a comic book should do or what to expect. Because how many of you read Mr. Miracle before Tom King picked it up? I would love to know, because I bet the answer is none of you. It's not a popular. It was not an overly popular character until Tom King decided he wanted to Tom King decided he wanted to write it, and man, oh man, did he ever write something fantastic. His rendition of Darkseid is unreal. His rendition of Big Barda, Highfather, Mr. Miracle, Granny Goodness. Oh, I can't stress this enough. The way I feel about it's not quite on the same level as Born Again, but So Little Is, but it's right up there. It's right up there. Since 2010, this is the best DC comic book. Yeah. Oh, God. Anyway, we've been almost at an hour, so if you guys, we got about 5 minutes left before I wrap up. So if you guys want to talk any more Sandman, or I'll talk about any comic books. I know said this was the Sandman preview, but yeah, let's gab about whatever you guys want. I'll let you guys decide. I'm looking up some facts on the Sandman in terms of awards it's won. There you go. Midsummer's Night's Dream won the World Fantasy Award for Best Short Fiction. Damn straight it did. It's won 26 Eisners. So an Eisner is pretty much... An Eisner is like the Grammys or the Academy Awards for comic books. So it's won 26 total. over the years. Best continuing series, of course. Best short story, best writer, best lettering. Oh, best lettering. Yeah, Todd Klein killed lettering. Dream Hunters. Wow. Yeah, that's won a lot of awards. Anyway. Do you know how much the show's going to cover, and should I read it first, then watch the show? I bet it covers the first 10 issues or so. Maybe. I'm sure they're going to have to bridge the gap a lot. It'll probably more closely follow the Audible run in terms of, because some of the Audibles were out of order. The chapters were out of order, but it did flow better because the Sandman, if you read like 1 to 15, there does seem some stuff that's like, where the heck did this come from? The Audible kind of cleaned it up. So I bet it goes off of that, but I will find out. I will find out for you. Sandman Netflix. Without looking at any spoilers. Episodes. So it looks like it's the first. There's 10 issues, so I bet it's the 10 issues. There's 10 episodes. So I bet it's the first 10 issues. The Sound of Her Wings is going to be the 6th episode. What issue was that in the comic books? Issue 8. So I bet the first two episodes are kind of a condensed from like the first 4 or 5. So I would say read the first 15 to 20 issues and then watch the show. But honestly, it doesn't matter. Do whatever you want. I think it would be kind of cool because like there are some movies that I've seen that I've seen the movie, never read the book, but after the movie went and read the book, and it is interesting to see the differences or getting that voice in your head of how the characters should sound or how you think they should sound. So yeah. Personally, as Jose, I always suggest to read the comic books first, especially buy them so you can support the illustrators and the authors who should be getting paid a lot more than they are. I always say read them first, but I completely understand if you don't want to wait because the TV show comes out tomorrow. As of this live stream, the TV show comes out tomorrow. I understand if you don't want to wait, so I'm not going to tell you to wait. If you want to just dive into the show, go for it. And then read it, go for it. But I always like reading it first. But it's such a good comic book. I can't wait for the show that I don't think there's a wrong answer. Are you a big Garth Ennis guy or not that much? He's good. I got nothing against him. I got a lot of Garth Ennis behind me. Let me find out what time the show tomorrow. I'm just looking it up. Yeah, Garth Ennis is good. I really like Preacher. I loved his run as Preacher. I don't like The Boys whatsoever. Hellblazer, his run at Hellblazer is one of the best. Hellblazer didn't have just one singular author and illustrator. There were a lot of authors and a lot of illustrators that wrote Hellblazer over the years. His run with Hellblazer is one of the more popular ones. His run is with Punisher is very good, very violent. A lot of what the Netflix show, I've not seen the Netflix show, but a lot of what the Netflix show is based off of his Punisher. And then, of course, Hitman, which is like his original character, is also very popular. That single issue of Hitman where his character Hitman meets not the Hitman from the game, the Hitman from the comic books meets Superman is fantastic. So yeah, he's not my favorite. Like if I have to list my 5 favorite authors, he's not in my top 5, but he has a lot of stuff that I really enjoy. I really, really enjoyed Preacher, but I really don't like The Boys. So yeah. They will air the episode early. Cool. I was recommending a horror manga, which I find awesome. So if you like freaky horror mangas, obviously anything by Junji Ito, he's like the godfather of horror manga. I don't know where it is in my shelf. It's way over there. Like Wandering Classroom. Uzumaki is the really popular one. That's like Junji Ito. That's like his magnum opus. That's like one of the freakiest and craziest mangas I've ever read. I want to know what that guy dreams about because his mangas are just baffling to me. But yeah, if you've not read Uzumaki, read that and then pick up anything by Junji Ito. because he is the best. It's lazy to say, but he is the best horror manga writer, I think. But sometimes the obvious is the correct answer. His work on Punisher was great. Yeah, awesome. Junji Ito haunts my dreams. Yeah, it does. I didn't know. There's like even an anime. I don't know if you guys have seen the anime. His anime stuff is wild. It's all like based off his books and stuff. But yeah, Junji Ito is horrifying. Junji Ito is the author. He wrote Uzumaki and Frankenstein and various other ones. But I went to Barnes and Noble the other day, and there's a whole, like, if you would have told me at like 15 years ago that Barnes and Noble would have a Junji Ito table, I would have called you crazy. But there is literally a whole table devoted just to Junji Ito, and it made my heart feel great. When are we going to have a Let's Talk Manga show? Hey, maybe next week. I'll talk about whatever. This is kind of a special episode where I just talked about the Sandman a lot because I'm very, very, as you could tell, I'm very excited for the show. But I love manga. I have millions. The best manga I've ever read is, of course, Akira. I have several Akira tattoos. But I'm also a very big fan of Cross Game, which my friend Seth turned me on. That's the best sports manga I've ever read. Lone Wolf and Cub, I have the entire run. Children of the Sea, which is also a movie on Netflix, is an absolutely beautiful piece. I love manga. I love everything about it. I actually, oddly enough, I've shown it a few times on this channel. I have the original printing of Memories by Otomo. Otomo, of course, wrote Akira, which he's very famous for, but Otomo also wrote Memories, which is a lot of short stories. Worth a lot of money. Well, not a lot compared to most graphic novels, but it's like one of my more prized possessions that I own, and I'm very, very pleased that I could add that to my collection. My girlfriend's a big fan of Planet Sis. That kind of changed her perspective of manga quite a bit. But yeah, I'm a huge manga fan. I'll do next week. You tell me what time works best. What time works best for you guys to do these live chats? What do you think of Berserk continuing despite the death of Berserk is obviously, I would say, one of, if not the most popular mangas ever. Obviously, you got things like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And Naruto, One Piece, Death Note, Bleach, but Berserk has routinely been like if you go look at Amazon's top selling books, like and you break it into graphic novels, like the library edition of Berserk, like all of them are in the top 25 most bought comic books. What do I think of continuing despite the death? I mean, it's two schools of thought. One, I selfishly just want more Berserk, and I believe it's his family or his people that were involved with him are continuing the story. So I'm sure there's notes. I'm sure that he's told them what they want. What I don't want is like what we saw with the Game of Thrones show, where once they caught up to the source material and they were just kind of throwing stuff against the wall and it just didn't work. If that is the case, a year into them continuing to write it, if it's not good, I say they just end it. But I would give them a year. I don't want to just end it. I want them to wrap it up in a nice way. I want them to wrap it up in a way that makes sense. So I would give them 1 year. And if they're doing it justice, keep on keeping on. But if that, after 12 months, if no one likes it and it is not being critically acclaimed like the original run, end it. Just end it. Because I don't want it to ruin the legacy of one of the best comic books I've ever read. But anyway, we've been talking for an hour. This has been Jose Youngs with Let's Talk Comic Books, special Sandman edition. I'll be back next week. I don't know what time or what day, but I'll be back next week. You guys tell me in the chats, especially if people come back later. You guys tell me what time. You guys tell me what day, and we'll get it done. But anyway, this has been Jose. Enjoy the Sandman tomorrow. Let me know what you think. As Usher would do. Let me know what you guys think. I'm probably going to watch it at midnight. But yeah, until then, enjoy Sandman. We out.